to weave in the psychology, okay, I had a lot of, let's say, trauma and abuse growing up. So strict Vietnamese parents. Okay. And this is, I learned, Vietnam had its Neo-Confucianism.
Oh.
And that's a lot of rules, respect for elders. There's a whole hierarchical pecking order. And you thought of the family first. So all this good behavior and conduct. And it's not conducive for raising a happy child.
Mm-hmm.
It's dysfunctional. So they were, they believe like you have to discipline the child to make them okay, because otherwise they're going to turn out like not a harmonious adult. So I had a lot of strictness and spanking and shaming, and being criticized, put down, and told I'm bad.
Oh, I feel sad hearing this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I'm being very sensitive. So,
Mm-hmm.
this is what you call, dysfunctional family, and being very sensitive. I took it very hard and personalized it and go, I'm a bad person. It must be my fault. I blame myself. And one thing I learned, which I might talk about if there's time, that through evolutionary astrology, where it talks about soul evolution, is there other lifetimes where, let's say, feeling wrong or wanting to lay low and not be seen, feeling worthless. There was many previous lifetimes with that, so I brought that in this lifetime and had a further reenactment, and in this case to heal it. So somewhere I think in the early 80s, I began therapy. I did 8 years of one-to-one therapy. So I also want to say this for the teachers and everyone watching this. There's these three level personality, soul, and spirit. It's integration is important, and healing and managing the wounds is important. And so I have this goal of growth. There's also this metaphysical teaching that Michael teaching. Well, I learned I have a goal of growth, and that was obvious. So part of this growth is like therapy. I need therapy. And I found a wonderful, very old soul therapist and did 8 years of one-to-one therapy. This is prior to coming into waking down, and that was very helpful. But I did have a descent into the shadow that was significant prior to being involved in waking down. But this was preparatory work that contributed to the rot. So, and then, many people know this. I also have an adult onset of obsessive compulsive disorder. It's much better now, but I still have degrees of that I deal with. And then a hoarding disorder and fear of intimacy, in relationship. My therapist said terror. And this, the roots are in the trauma and abuse that I grew up with, and whatever sensitivity elements in my brain chemistry and whatever, bringing in from previous lifetimes. But the therapy helped a lot. And, but it's when you grow up with that, we carry that imprint, our emotional scars. So I still feel I'm a work in progress. There's been a lot of healing, and spiritual awakening offers a lot of healing also. I mean, it's significant. But this whole integration, the human and divine integration, so dealing with management of our psychological, emotional psychological wound, I think is very important. And you also need like an ego in the best sense of the word. You need a sufficiently stable ego or integrated ego to transcend, also in spiritual realization. And so this aided me in spiritual realization, and also I also learned a lot of compassion that I bring to the students I work with. So beginning to weave in some of the teaching things, and empathy, because I've been there, and I was like, when I worked with Saniel, we'd say, okay, so I am proof, Van is proof that you can awaken with significant emotional, psychological wounding. That is not an impediment to awakening. And, you don't have to perfect and heal the body, mind, and have it be perfect to awaken. You just need to free enough energy, attention, feeling. So the therapy helped free things up, and that was part of the rot. But the point is, I felt like a spiritual failure and a human failure, because the point, as I was saying, intimate relationship was a problem. Didn't happen to little Vanny. It was like a lot of failure. Oh my God, what's wrong with me? So I used to be Mr. Single of Waking Down, because I was single for a long time. And by grace, I met a wonderful woman when I was healed enough. And this happened in 2014. So I was kind of old already, but still better late than never. And so I'm in a beautiful, very loving and healing relationship with my fiance, Lynn. And that's why I'm living here in Cornville, Arizona, which is nearby to Sedona, because I'm living here with Lynn. And so the moral of the story is persistence, as the I Ching says, perseverance furthers. So, I kept at it. To speak about relationship, I had aspiration for relationship and kept at it with a lot of problematic relationships, because the reenactment, you choose partners, in this case being heterosexually oriented girlfriends, where there's similar dynamics as what you grew up with, and so, so there was a fair amount of rejection, abandonment, and dysfunctional being in relationship with people that had wounding, and it would then trigger my wounding, and then would do more healing, need more healing. Also to say that I did a lot of workshops, all kind of healing, opening workshops throughout. Then there was a period when I did less during the awakening process, but then post-awakening, I've done therapeutic things, somatic experiencing, and lot of different healing modalities, and further healing the wounds, emotional, psychological wounds, it's worthwhile. And for some people, and for me, it was critical. It was very important to do this. And then it also gives me capacities of understanding other students that I may be working with or interacting with, and their emotional, psychological issues, and if there was trauma and abuse, then I have compassion and understanding, and that helps me as a teacher. So I made lemonade out of lemons, and some really good lemonade.
Absolutely. I have always admired how open you are about your struggles, and just hearing you frees up energy and attention in those who listen. And just as you were born in this amazing environment of San Francisco, meeting all these teachers. You were also born into this household with these challenges that shaped you into the compassionate, loving teacher that you are.
Yeah.
So
Thank you.
Very interesting, the lemonade. Yeah.
Thank you. And skipping forward, I also learned, like, using evolutionary astrology. I had this reading very recently, and so in my chart, it's like there's a lot of elements that point towards, let's say, having the gifts and aspiration to be, in the broadest sense of the word, a spiritual teacher. Mm. Now, at the personality, didn't understand this, when I was growing up, but, and this is where, let's say, there's, let's say, expressions of the soul nature here, where I was driven, this obsession. And so now this is unfolded. And so I'm learning also, they're both from previous lifetimes and what I grew up with. I didn't want to rock the boat too much, because you get whacked down or criticized, or, and I think also there are many people who in previous lifetimes had bad things happen, like torture, persecution, death, unpleasant death, or unpleasant persecution, for being too vocal with their spiritual views. And so people may be more shy about that. And I think, I've had my version of that, and my fiance Lynn has had that, where it's a little scary to speak up spiritually and stand out. And so if someone listening to this has that, keep persisting. And it may be from past life things, and like, so this lifetime I'm supposed to speak up more according to my astrology. And so, I mean, it's timely also that you invited me to have this interview, because let's say maybe a year ago I might have been more hesitant or shy or dragging my feet. And, even though with my Enneagram 1 perfectionism anxiety, it's like, okay, I want to do this. I'm supposed to do this. Okay.
Beautiful.
Gotta speak up, man. You're supposed to do this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lucky for us all. Yeah.
So the big miracle is I went to see Saniel at the end of June in 1995 because of Lance's sharing of his stories, and it took Lance his second visit for his hearing it twice from Lance, because I wasn't quite ready yet and I was a little shy. So Lance said something like, I think Saniel has awakened. And the way he was talking, it sounds like he's awakened. I'm going, I gotta go then. I'm thinking to myself. So, okay. So here I am, a spiritual failure, human failure, neurotic OCD guy. We've had to drop out of, Aridan. So I go to see Saniel, and I just wanted some grace to help me deepen in my spiritual progress for a future lifetime. Yeah. So this is me going, little van, going up to Saniel's living room to see him on a Sunday in Corte Madera. So I sit myself there, and then he does meditation where he does gazing. And at this time it was a random style gazing. And it happened that he ended up gazing with me twice during this. So I think this is June 26, 1995. And the miracle happened. Wow. So at this first meeting with Saniel, I'm just being with the body mind, because there's this resignation, having been through going through, whatever is arising, I can't get rid of, the negative feelings, stuff that arise, just and I think the therapy also helped me to be with acceptance of what the wounds are, and just be with the humanness, but with a greater acceptance and being able to kind of manage it. And then I think meditation also helped, and then work of previous lifetimes. So I'm sitting there just being with, and I'm trying to soak up, am I feeling some transmission? And then I'm noticing, whoa, I'm feeling something. There's something, huh? So I was feeling some transmission. I was trying to go, what's that? And call it. Then I was just being there, and I was noticing, okay, so this thought is arising. Oh, wow, that it's arising in awareness. That thought and that feeling is, okay, in this moment, okay, I'm feeling anxious or fear. Okay, that's arising in this moment. And I feel it, I experience it, and I'm recognizing it's arising in awareness. Wow. I'm not fully identifying with this is this shouldn't be happening to me. Oh, that thought is I'm witnessing also. Whoa.
Wow.
Oh, but I'm still I'm feeling all this, stuff I'm feeling. It's happening in awareness, and I'm feeling, oh, wow, this is, something's happening. So this was what we now call embodied feeling witness consciousness that was awakening here. And this was at my first meeting with Saniel.
Wow.
So, and again, I'm very, this is the rot, and I'm feeling like a slug, and, human and spiritual failure. And this is opening. So this is very advanced rot. I was in the rot. I didn't know, we didn't have that term at this time, but I was in the rot, very available. And then I think there's also this factor of previous lifetime work about where some of these things have progress, or some clarification of these spiritual things have happened. Also all the spiritual work that I'd done in this lifetime. So that was happening. And I also want to make this editorial comment here about soul nature, because I had an idea that to awaken, you had to be a very advanced old soul. And in the Michael teaching, there's levels of soul evolution. And so like the oldest soul is a 7th level old soul. And in this lifetime, I was, the Michael channels were saying I was born as a 2nd level old soul, and I had evolved into a 3rd level old soul. So I was going, okay, I'm still not one of those advanced 7th level old souls. So when I was having this awakening happen, I'm going, this shouldn't be happening to me. I'm not an old soul enough. That was another belief system I had, that you had to be this really advanced old soul to awaken, and be very advanced and be almost perfect, and be like a super person. I thought you had to be an Olympic spiritual athlete, super person to awaken. So in this first meeting with Saniel, this embodied feeling witness consciousness opened up. And then I kept coming every week to see Saniel. And I had some private sessions with him. And there was another couple, Lawrence and Arlisa, who were also awakened and were teaching classes, and were friends of Saniel. So I went to their sittings. So advancement was happening quickly. And without spending, I could spend a long time on that, but on August 11th, 1995, after a sitting that I'd gone to, I was driving across Gold Bridge, and like I was on fire. Like it was, so let's say everything was heightened. And, I had been receiving a lot of transmission. Um, so to be a little poetic, it felt like consciousness was blazing, like with conscious awareness was very obvious, like, and like, so whatever was happening in the body, mind, sensations, emotions, thoughts, feelings, perceptions, it was like, okay, this thought, this feelings arising in this moment and passing, and it would just be like disappearing in consciousness in the next moment. So it was very intense moment to moment witnessing. And then I was also feeling a lot of love, what I called then centerless, uncaused love. So this is the theme. Okay, love was showing itself here, like, and it had shown itself also earlier, like when I first, throughout my life, but when I first met Saniel to this awakening, but I was feeling like in love, but it was, I guess it was like the love from the heart of existence. So that's why centerless, uncaused. And I want to tell everyone about this.
Oh.
And then I was feeling like kind of energized too. So that was like divine energy. And so it was very dramatic, distinct shift. We call it second birth, this initial whole being realization. And but I didn't know what was happening. I don't know. Is this it? I don't know. I was just enjoying it, and I went home, wrote a poem, and the next day, Saturday, I was feeling everything more intensely, but kind of not as elevated. And I go, oh, that probably is not it. Maybe not it, because I'm not feeling that same heightened thing, intense. Then I saw Saniel on that Sunday, and I mentioned, I had written a poem, and I think I shared this poem, Awakening poem, which is on the teacher page. And then I shared what happened, and San was wondering, kind of gave, like wondering, did something significant happen? And then after that, I went to the beach in San Francisco after the sitting on Sunday, and I was walking, I was feeling more fused. I was walking in the beach, and I was feeling more fused into the world. And I'm going, wow, I don't feel as like separate, like this little person on the stage. And then it felt like the world was more unified. The material world was more unified with the cosmos. And I was going, but I'm still me, still neurotic Van. Because I thought I would feel more like Saniel, like brilliant mind, and just if I awakened, I thought I'd feel more like Saniel, but I was still a Van, and I was going, I got to tell people about this. I'm still me.
Wow.
And I'm going, something has shifted here, and that's this fundamental separateness or non-separateness that that we talk about. That is a key that we look for, in initial whole being realization. So this was what I was experiencing of it, and I was still a neurotic little Van, and thinking this shouldn't be happening to me. So also that's the other moral of the story is like, what the mind thinks, that comes up for people. It'll happen to everyone except me. But so I obviously had those thoughts, but everything felt something was going to happen because things were intensified. I just didn't know it would happen this quickly. So that was a long version of the spiritual unfolding, and there's definitely grace involved in this. Like, I worked hard, but grace, and then transmission. They talk about tanking up on being, so grace and transmission. So just pause here. Any questions or comments?
Well, I just find it such a beautiful story, and I love your kind of first person narration of these shifts, these important shifts, the embodied feeling witness consciousness and the whole being realization, just how you could narrate and track so carefully what was happening. I find that very valuable, just to help others recognize their own journeys too. And in terms of questions, I'm wondering, like, what your orientation was because you were like the first teacher chosen by Saniel, right?
Right.
So what was your initial orientation then, and how have you seen it evolve over the years? I know you've
In terms of teaching?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that okay to go there?
Yeah,
now?
no, that's good.
Okay.
Well, I didn't think I could awaken. And so here I had this awakening had happened. And this other continued theme is I wanted to continue both exploring awakened life and the implications of what it meant, and continue in growing, maturing, and evolving post-awakening. And one question I have is like, I'm not sure if everyone has that aspiration. And some people may have it more than others, but it was still strong in me, like, okay, this is wonderful. And I suspect maybe there's more. And then there's the comparing, like, okay, how does this compare to my conceptions of what I thought awakening and realization would be? And one thing we found, it wasn't clear in the early days that what we now call initial whole being realization, that there is more, and there is further deepening, further evolution, further integration, further maturation of awakened life. And so that's part two. I mean, this is already a lot's happened, but that's 25 years ago.
Right.
And then I continued exploring to learn, well, what is this awakening? What are the parameters of it? How does it compare to other awakenings, other realizations? They're different. I had learned through Adida, there are different realizations and different transmissions. So I was studying this in the midst of living it. And, in the early stage, you're testing, like, okay, am I still awake now? And especially, if like some negative emotion comes up, am I still awake now? So that, this next chapter will be like post-awakened life and what I've learned and explored there. But in terms of becoming a teacher, I wasn't trying to become a teacher. And Saniel, there wasn't a teacher program then. It was all organic unfoldment. We call it spontaneous revelation. And I am an advocate and a champion of spontaneous revelation. Okay, I'm going to skip forward here and make another Van Gwen statement here. The freedom to explore, and both pre and post awakening, because we were breaking new territory, we didn't have a lot of rules and structure. And so it was working intuitively and what we're moved to do. So for example, when I did become a teacher and held sittings, I would have other selected, like I might have another student who had their second birth, who I felt had some sufficient maturity, gaze with me. Or so there weren't any rules about gazing. And so I was improvising, kind of like jazz. Okay, what'll work? Is this going to help? You know. Then rules came, and then I was going, I don't like all these rules. Okay, so that's that's where that comes from. So that's one editorial commented here. It could be said, more could be said, but okay, so I have my whole life want to be helpful. So if I find something that's helpful, I want to tell people about it. And so when I did S, I wanted to tell people about S. And so here I have this awakening. So I want to be helpful to people awakening. And so I would be talking to other students. I also kept going to all the Saniel sittings every Sunday. Then he also had few extra ones. So I kept going, even though I had my awakening, but I was still want to learn more. That's how I became a teacher, was apprenticing by observing Saniel. And I think I went virtually to every Sunday sitting he did, maybe might have missed one or two, for 5 years.
Wow.
Like obsessed. You know, that's some of the perfections, but it was just obsessed. This is the most fascinating, interesting thing happening in my life. I'm jumping into this. So, but if you told me, Van, you have to go to every city for the next 5 years, I'm going, are you crazy? But I just kept going. So, and at these sittings, I would try and be helpful. Hey, I got a tip for you. You know, and we would go out to lunch after, and I'd have tips for people. I'd say, hey, I can, you know, you asked a question at the sitting today, and you know, I got some perspective to share on it. So I was trying to teach, just out of wanting to be helpful, you know, helpful tips. But and I was one of the early on to have the second birth, so there weren't as many there. So I was trying to be helpful, and then there was a certain point. So it was August, I think in September-ish. Saniel said, you know, my sense is it would be helpful for you not to feel a compulsion to try to be helpful to people, to let the awakening like grounded into the body more. So it was this conception of consciousness, the influx of consciousness. You know, this is probably more figuratively, but the influx of consciousness, like going all the way down to the feet and integrating, being grounded in the body. So he felt that maybe by trying to speak and help so much energy, this energy was going out the fish chakra. So to let it integrate more, just let's relax about having to teach and help people. Oh. That is where Ziploc yoga came from.
Oh my goodness.
It was organic.
Wow.
It wasn't a prescription like, oh, you need to fulfill the Ziploc yoga.
Wow.
So you can do that at the next, next workshop. It was organic. Saniel felt intuitively, okay, Van needs to not have to keep blabbing about awakening and just let it settle. And
did you find that helpful?
Yes, then I could relax. I don't have to save people. And then so I could just relax. So then Linda was, you know, a student at that time, Saniel, there was a certain point, I think it was in at least end of December or January, so that Saniel said, okay, you can start talking now. Because in a way, he said, okay, please start talking now. You've been bottled up too long. Please start sharing now. Okay, so he because we were having private sessions along the way too, post-awakening. So then he was intuitively feeling, okay, it feels there's enough of this holding back of like, being overly, verbal teaching. And then, so he felt the timing as to, okay, please start talking, teaching, sharing. So it's, again, it's organic. I want to stress organic. It wasn't arbitrary. Okay, so then I was doing private sessions, and my first student was Linda. And so I went to her house, did a private session. So it's just, this is all happening organically. So, and she's very easy to work with. So it was a wonderful, teacher student session, and I was able to be helpful to her. And I think we did probably talk something about the witness consciousness and embodied feeling witness consciousness. That term evolved too. And I helped Saniel coin that term. I think I might have added the feeling in there, but so now I think we're just calling it embodied feeling witnessing now. But that, the formal term back then was embodied feeling witness consciousness. So being a teacher happened organically. Mm-hmm. And then Saniel went to visit his family, and he said, could you do Sunday sitting? And again, is that, who would have thought, and then some good advice he gave is, he said, have fun. And I think I had Rini Hansen. She was a wonderful person who was involved with Saniel then. And I think I had her assist me. We did the sitting. So, I rose to the occasion because out of necessity. And so so that's basically then began teaching in an organic way, and still continuing to go to Saniel sittings and to apprentice and learn. So that's also why I'm an advocate for the apprentice system, which how it used to be, but now people are coming from geographic regions and need to have courses. But I did also, in the course of being the one of two Waking Down teachers, organically develop an apprenticeship system. So Jennifer Mayall was one of my apprentices, because she hosted my sittings at her house. So then at a certain point, when I felt she was ready, I had her gazing, but not speaking in terms of answering students' questions. And then when I felt she was ripe for that, then I had her also in the question and answer discussion time answer students' questions. So I was just feeling it out organically. And then I was even sharing the proceeds of the sitting as she was taking more responsibility. I was sharing the proceeds of the sitting, and then we were doing this together. And so then it evolved. Then she became a teacher and was voted in, but it all happened by this organic system. That's why I am Mr. Organic. But there's practical things as you grow. But so there's, you need appropriate structures as you grow. And I think you also need, so that's to me the classical symphony, but you also need this jazz factor of improv, and following the impulses and creating new music and innovating this improvisational, organic style. But, it also takes integration wisdom to do the organic style, so it unfolds in an appropriate timing.